Hi, welcome back to Grow New Plants. So today I'm going to show you how I make my soil mix for transplants. I've already done a video and I'll put a link to that up here in the top corner, how I do my mix for seed starts. It's basically my starter mix for seed starts and small cuttings, stuff like that. This is more for when I transplant, when I've already got a seedling, it's got roots developed and I'm transplanting it up to a bigger pot. This is the mix that I put in. The trees, even bushes, stuff like that, anything bigger. 1 gallon and up, this is usually the mix that I use. And it's pretty simple. It's basically, it's 25% peat moss. And then this is the hard part on finding this stuff here. This is a hardwood mulch and it's 75% hardwood mulch. So 75 hardwood mulch, 25 peat moss. And then I use Osmocote fertilizer in it. It's 18612, I believe. And I'll put a link in the description. I found a place that you can buy a smaller bag of it. I bought a big bag and it was hard to find, but there is a smaller bag of it you can get off Amazon. I'll put a link to that if you want to try this stuff. It's really good. So you're supposed to put 15 pounds of this Osmocote in a yard of this soil. Well, I've converted it down to how much 5-gallon buckets equal out of a yard, a percentage, and I think I came up with 12 ounces of this Osmocote in the mix that I'm going to make. And I'm making a 10-gallon mix, 2 5-gallon buckets total. So what I'm doing, I'm putting a half a bucket of the peat moss and then 1.5 buckets of the hardwood mulch. And then I put 12 ounces of this in here. So I'm going to get my bucket up here and we'll get the peat moss first. And I'll fast forward through this because it takes a while. This peat moss comes compressed. It's just Canadian sphagnum peat moss, but it comes compressed. So when I take it and put it in the bucket, I take it and do like that to break it up into smaller pieces. So I'll fast forward through this and then we'll get the mulch in there. Okay, so I get these containers here. Let me grab the lid for it. Mixing it up is kind of tricky. If you have, would that be ideal if you had like an old cement mixer, something like that? That would work perfect for mixing this up. I don't have room or space, and this seems to work okay. And this is just a container I got at Home Depot with a good snap lid. Obviously, I can't even get it off. So I just dump this stuff in here, and I'll show you in a minute how I mix it all up. So I'm going to put my a bucket of peat moss in there. And then I got my bark mulch. And so this bark mulch is what they call fine ground. And I got this from a local place that does all kinds of soils, mixes and stuff like that. And then they bag some of their mixes up so you don't have to buy like a truckload of it at a time. But it's what they call a fine ground. This is triple ground hardwood mulch. So it's local trees, bark off hardwood trees from locally, and then it's run through the grinder 3 different times. So it's pretty fine. It's got it'll have a few sticks and stuff in it, but the majority of it is pretty fine grind. So it works really good. I've been using this for a long time. So it works good, but that's gonna be the hardest part, is finding a really fine grind of a hardwood mulch. So I'm gonna dump this in here. So there's 1 bucket. Dump that in with that. And then I got another bag over here. I'll fast forward through this too, because I'm gonna just pull this out with my hands till I get another half a bucket. Okay, so there's my other half bucket of that. So now I got 75% bark mulch, 25% of the peat. So now all I gotta do is just measure out my Osmocote. Lost my little cup there. So basically, I'm just taking my scale here. I turn it on, I tear it out to zero it out with that cup on there. And then I just start adding the stuff on there till I get 12 ounces. So I'll fast forward through that real quick. So that's done now. We'll get rid of our bucket, fertilizer, and so the reason I use these containers is it makes it relatively easy to mix these things up. So all we do, and here's all of our stuff in here. See what it looks like now. Hopefully you could see that. I didn't want to dump it too far. I want to dump it all out. So you snap this lid down on here. It's easier to do on the ground, but for the video, I'm just going to do it here. Basically, just take this thing and make sure you get a good container with a lid that snaps down tight, because if you use a little cheap container with a sorry lid, it's going to pop off and dump everything on the ground when you do this. So basically, I rotate it around that way. I rotate it around this way. And the fuller these containers are, the longer they take to mix. So I'm going to do this several more times. Okay, well, I'm guessing this is going to be pretty well mixed now. That looks pretty good. So I'll probably do it a couple more times off camera. You can just look at it and see what it looks like. But so if you look at it now, hopefully you can see in there. I'll pull some out on my hand with my hand. Let's look at it. So that's basically what we end up with. And that thing is, it still looks mainly like the bark mulch, but the peat's in there to help hold moisture in. And you got the bark mulch, which is giving you a lot of drainage. And then of course you got your Osmocote fertilizer in there. So it works really good. I've been using this mix for really since I started the channel. Everything I've done, I've grown with this mix. So it works pretty good. So anyway, and I've got the video of the starter mix if you want that recipe. So I'll put both these videos out within a day of each other. And I will start linking to when I do my other videos. I'll just put a link in there to these videos for whichever soil I'm using in that video. Anyway, I appreciate you watching. Please like, please subscribe, please share my videos. Thank you.